Chief here for CTT. I'm going to do something different that I haven't done before, and that is talk about somebody else. Basically, for lack of a better term, I'm going to talk about my nemesis. Now, this will be the only duty station where I have troubles with a fellow warrant officer. And this warrant officer is also my same MOS. As I stated before, when I first got there, I told the command that I got to do this teleconference. They said, no problem, it's going to be during this exercise. She will go. She is pregnant. She's transitioning from her first to her second trimester about the time this exercise is going to take place. Well, at the last minute, she decides, I don't want to fly. So I have to go. And the command says, well, make sure you got time off or you're near a phone. Good thing it wasn't an important teleconference because I didn't have any paperwork, and when I called it was a bust. Snafu in communications, not everybody could be there, so no biggie. Well, this person also told each command, it seemed like, I don't like to fly, I don't want to fly. So she doesn't fly to Japan. She doesn't fly to Thailand with us. Later on, there's a TDY that comes. And the guy that I took over for, he has finally left, so she's now the senior of our MOS, and we've got a couple juniors. And at that time, I think it's only her and me, I don't remember exactly what, but there came a tasking. And she got wind of it. She came to me one day at work. She goes, there's a tasking. It's between you and me who goes. You need to go. And I asked her where it was. She told me. I said, sure, I'll go gladly. So I do go because she doesn't like to fly. I go to this TDY and I start to run out of checks because even though I had to put all my stuff in the storage, had to ship my kids elsewhere, I still had some bills to pay, not very many, so I'm still paying bills, and plus I had to write checks in order to get cash because, everything goes into direct deposit, and where we go, there really isn't my bank, or a bank to go to where, hey, yeah, it's American friendly. So I order my checks. I tell the command, the checks are coming to you, Captain. I'm commander. I said, they're being addressed to you. The bank understands this. I wrote him a letter. He says fine and dandy when he wrote me an email back. And for some reason she volunteers, or is voluntoed, I don't know which, to send my checks to me. Well, after my checks are received, John Boy, who I went to school with, like I said, four of us showed up at the same place, was talking to her one day, and she opened up her desk drawer and he saw my box of checks. He goes, he needs those. When are you going to send them? He needs them now. Oh, I'll get around. No, you need to send them now. So I don't know what time frame that was, but by the time I got my checks, I was almost out the door where I was to come back home after 6 months. And I got stuck because where I was, we had to pay for all our meals. So we had a collective fund where we would buy staples, milk, bread, eggs, and anything else. And a lot of people would cook a big meal, so therefore they would feed multiple people at the same time rather than individual cooks. I mean, there were some people that did their individual cooking. We had a community meal once or twice a week where everybody chipped in to help as best as they could, and then we'd have that. So I had to take an interpreter because I didn't know if I was going to have difficulty at a foreign bank. And the foreign bank was really nice. The guy that waited on me was really nice. He was like one of the officials for the bank. He took my credit card and he said, sure, we'll just give you $500, and we'll charge to your credit card. And I said, thanks. And because I think at that time I could only withdraw like $250 cash at an ATM, but I didn't want to trust an ATM where I was at. Still don't trust ATMs in a foreign country. So I took care of that, and by the time I got home, I wrote the command, hey, I'm coming home, I'll be home on this day. I think they were on an exercise, local. I don't exactly know. So I get to the airport, and of all the people to send to pick me up, Not much conversation. She asked me where she could take me. I said, well, I can go to the battalion because I can get my car out of storage, and then I'll go over to guest housing because I didn't have a house, so I had to hunt for a house. Well, get back. John Boy is like talking to me because there's a lot of incidences that I had to catch up on. One that involved me, but it got cleared up when something else happened. And it was so crazy. I'm not going to talk about it. So he's sitting there asking me, like, how much did you make? So I gave him a figure. She got wind of it. So she comes at me, she goes, I heard you made X amount of dollars or better. And I said, yeah. I said we had to buy our own, and we were living in substandard conditions because we were living in Connexes. I wasn't living in a tent. I wasn't living in a hotel. I was living in an 8x8 section of an 8x16 Connex. That was my living quarters. And I had the window. The other person had the door because you had 8 feet and then 8 feet. Didn't have a hallway or nothing. So one person lived in the 8 feet, and I lived in the back section, so I always walked through somebody else's territory to get to my territory in the Connex. So she goes, well, you think that tasking's going to come back at us? I said, probably not. I said, it seems to be going around multiple units, so by the time it gets back here, we'll both be long gone. So she got jealous of that. Later on, we did have a chit chat because I did ask her what her attitude was, and she did mention she was jealous of my knowledge in the MOS because I have been working the MOS since I joined the military. I found out that she bared over, and I think she was an MP, and I did not know that you could be in one MOS and volunteer, or not volunteer, but submit your packet to gain a new MOS, at least in the MI field, because then they have to go to basic instruction training to get that, the knowledge for the job that you're obtaining. I didn't know besides being a helicopter pilot, I did not know you could do that. And I'll find out more about that later. So she was basically jealous of my knowledge, but I was a little bit upset with her technical skills. She had good computer skills. Where she picked them up, I don't know. So she didn't like to fly, so she never flew. She never went on any exercises that involved flying. And as a matter of fact, most of the time we went to the field, she seemed to be on vacation. Because I don't remember seeing her. I remember seeing her a couple times for a couple exercises, but because we were exercising 3, 4, 5 times a year, it seemed like. So now she's going to know, after I get back from my TDY, we have an exercise within the building. And command put out, we don't want you eating on pause position, so we're going to set up a chow tent outside. Chow hall is going to come by and bring food for the enlisted soldiers, so we want you to eat outside. I seem to be the only officer who regularly obeyed that for the mini exercise we had. Well, of course, it's me sitting there by myself, and then, of course, there's 1 or 2 tables filled with the enlisted members. And, of course, enlisted members are doing what they usually do, and that is talking loud, talking soft, telling jokes, telling stories about one another. Well, supposedly, during one of those multitude of meals, I supposedly overheard something that could be used against somebody if I wanted to take advantage of them over via the command. Just some bad news. So I go into work one day, and my captain, we have a nice captain. He is a male. He had gone through West Point, and he is getting out because he told us he didn't want to become a company commander because that was his next step. He says, I went through West Point. I had fun. I'm doing my obligation, so I am getting out because the Army life is not for me. He was good in the job, but he just didn't want the command authority, it seemed like. So he calls me into this office. So now it's me, the captain, her, and this specialist female. So the captain starts, and he goes, well, he starts asking some questions. I've got this look on my face of puzzlement and bewilderment, I guess. And Captain looks at me. He says, do you know why you're in here? I go, no. What is going on? So he looks at her and says, we're going to leave. We're going to let him, meaning me, and the specialist talk. What had happened is the specialist said that somebody said something, not her, that could be used against her with the command. And I said, well, of all the conversations that I can even remember what you guys said, I don't remember hearing anything that would be of questionable nature that I would have to take it to the command. And she says, I apologize. I think she said she apologized for taking it this route because she didn't want to approach me. She approached her, and lost in translation, miscommunication. The specialist was trying to do point A and point B came out. So after we talked, me and the specialist, we resolved what was going on. Nothing was going on. I didn't have any information to take to the command and ruin somebody's life. And so we went out and talked to the captain and said that we resolved the issue, and the captain said, good. So I took the captain to the side and I said, why was I in there? He says, we were going to start proceedings for you for charges of sexual harassment. I'm like, what? He says, but obviously this thing got blown out of proportion. I said, yes, sir. So, yeah. Since she was there before me, she gets to leave first. So she's going to her next duty assignment. So there's like 3 or 4 of us extra, same MOS, because I'm due to leave shortly after she is for some odd reason. Oh yeah, she got wind of that. I went on vacation, and I came back from vacation around my birthday, and first day I get back, I know where you're going, I know, just like a little kid. And I'm like, what? She goes, you're going to South Korea. I said, how do you know? I said, I don't even know. Well, the branch manager called and he talked to me and told me. And I'm like, well, shouldn't the branch manager tell me first, not you? But yeah. So like I said, she's ready to go to her next duty station. So we buy her a gift. I chipped in. I'm not that way. And we get to the luncheon, and my other fellow MOSers, they go, well, you've known her the longest, you get to give her a speech. Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. I get up, I say some nice things. I do. Don't know what I said. But somehow it seems like she's the next person up. So she thanks everybody for showing up. And then her next words shocked the 3 of us, her fellow warrant officers in the same MOS. Tomorrow, me and the little one are going to fly across country. We look at one another. She hates to fly. That's what we said to each other in a low voice. She's flying all of a sudden. Imagine that. Update. I go to Korea. I go to the same place she worked at. 2 tours ahead of me, I think. One day I'm looking through the contractor's office because I have a contractor that I actually have to counsel. I'll get to that later. And I see a book or a manual with her name on it. And I hold it up, and I get the evil eye from the contractor. And he goes, if you tell me you like her, you and I are going to have difficulty. I said, don't worry, I don't like her. Later on, I will get an NCOIC of E7 rank, Sergeant First Class. He likes to drink coffee, super black, almost as thick as mud oil. I wouldn't let him do that because he wanted to waste almost a whole can of coffee just to make a pot of coffee. He and I are sitting there talking one day, and he was telling me that he was an instructor at Fort Huachuca trying to train warrant officers who are coming into our MOS. And he said there was this one female. He says, I can't remember her name. Boy, was she difficult. And I mention her name. He looks at me and he goes, that's the one. So, this chief out. I do have wonderful news. My fiance has finally contacted me. She is alive and safe. So, remember, freedom is not free. Do your prayers for Ukraine. I hope this ends soon because I want to get married. So this is Chief out. Bye.